JT Crowley is Talking Books. On the show, you'll hear from emerging talent and seasoned veterans from around the world.
Hello, everyone. I'm JT Crowley, and I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, Dee Buchanan, who's joining me on the show to talk about her book, Messages from the Divine Mother, a selection of spiritual conversations for women. Dee is from London in the United Kingdom. Over the years, she's done a variety of jobs. She's been a primary school teacher, an accounts supervisor, an accounts book ledger person, a life coach and mentor. But the glue that has kept her own life on track throughout her many trials has been her spiritual faith, something she has instilled in all her family and friends and those she has come into close contact around her. It's taken Dee close to 20 years to compile this book from concept to complete publication, although the actual writing process was just over a year. These divine messages, love notes, are as a direct result of the Divine Mother talking directly to her, always addressing her as my dear daughter or dearest daughter or daughter. And you'll see a lot of the contents of this book headed up in a variety of formats of this dear daughter or daughter. The messages within are messages of support and empowerment for women to learn and grow to understand themselves. They're there for guidance, to show love, empathy, blessings, and lots more for women to get through life and enrich their spiritual beliefs. So let's invite Dee onto the show to talk about her book and why she wrote it. Dee, come and join me.
Hi, John. Lovely to be here. How are you?
I'm great. And we've met several times, haven't we?
We have. It's getting to be a bit, close, but I feel like I know you now. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Dee, who is this Divine Mother that communicates with you, and how does she communicate it with you? Through voice, through actions? Who is she, and how does she communicate with you?
That's a very good question. And to answer that question, I have to go back to how this book first came about.
Great.
And the book first came about when I started journaling every morning. And it was my way of dealing with all the challenges that I was facing at this particular time. Challenges where everything just fell apart. Everything, job, relationship, the whole thing just crumbled. And I started writing my journal every morning. And for some reason, I started addressing my journal every morning by "Good morning, Divine Mother," or "Good morning, Holy Mother." And I think for me, it was that kind of motherly love, that kind of motherly nature that I was looking for to kind of, support me and, give me the guidance that I needed. So this is how the Divine Mother came about for me. And, looking and reflecting on it now, it was if to say I wanted to, connect to the higher, the highest of all, of the Divine Mother, or the femininity of who I am, and the feminine energy, that we all need. And I think at that time, that's what I needed.
That's a very powerful thought. And a lot of people go through life, have many ups and downs. And, we often seek support from all kinds of methods, ways. Some are spiritual, some are other counselling. But, I think what you've done is tremendous. And I'm very glad that you've took the courage to put it in a book. Well done, you.
Thank you. Courage is a good word.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dee, when I look at your book, I see that you have grouped your divine messages, for that's how you have described them, into 15 subheadings, collections. Why did you choose to set the book out in this manner? And more significantly, why have you emphasized that these spiritual messages are conversations for women? Why not men? Surely a spiritual conversation should be open to all genders.
Yes, and it is. It is. And it's not to say that men can't read my book. Men have and still find it inspiring. Um, but personally, because I was going through this as a woman, and it felt that it was something that women would benefit from, and bring them back to their core nature of being a woman. Hence, tapping into the divine mother's energy. Um, so it was part of me saying to women, look, there's nothing wrong with you. That deep in your core, you're fine, you're okay. Or take away all the things that you think are, wrong with you or not working for you, or you know is challenging for you. But at the deep core, your feminine power is very strong, and it's very spiritual, and it's very creative. It's very formative. All the things that we forget as we go through life, we forget that this our core being, is love, is forgiveness, is happiness, is all those things. And so it's really to give women that kind of empowerment, and inspiration to be who they really are. And in doing that, I think it then manifests itself where men are able to appreciate themselves as being men also. So it's a twofold thing, really. It's as if you stand in your own power, then you give permission for others to stand in theirs.
That's very, thought-provoking. I think, a lot of men will, sometimes men need to think from, get in touch with their feminine side, to see things from a different angle.
Mm.
And we learn a lot more from that. And likewise, women sometimes seeing things from a man's side of thing. That's
Yeah.
just as important, isn't it?
Yes. And I think, um, a lot of the times, through religions, we tend to have the male element, our father, it's very masculine when you think of, you know, how the biblical or how scriptures are written.
Yes.
And so if you bring a balance where a woman's touch, shall we say, can balance the energies, then you have more of a balanced view of life rather than just one side of things.
Oh, I agree. A woman's touch is very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's have a look, Dee, at 6 of the conversational areas so as to give people a quick insight into your book. Let's start with life within. You say in these collective messages, opening the doors of your spirit is your sole requirement. The Divine Mother is always waiting to be let in. Sometimes all you need is to listen to your spirit. Your answers cannot be found outside. Look within. Would you care to enrich us here as to what you're getting at here?
Yes. When we go through things, we tend to look outside for all the answers. We might, read a book, watch TV, ask a friend. But one of the most, I think, the most important thing that I found out was when you sit with yourself, and when you ask yourself, and when you go within yourself, you get the answers that's right for you. A lot of the times, yes, there are things outside that may resonate with you, but you truly know who you are. And once you sit with yourself, and once you go within yourself, your true self knows, your true self gets the answers of what is needed, of you know, what you need to do. So it came about actually when I wrote my first spiritual poem, which was called, which is actually in the book, Life Within, where I was searching for my own self, my own sense of self, my own spirituality, and realized by reading Ayanna Van Zant's book, Tapping the Power Within,
Mm.
that, oh my goodness, this is what I've missed, all the time. That going within, going within yourself, asking yourself, tapping into the source about yourself is where you'll get your answers, is where you're most likely to find you, not outside of yourself, but within yourself.
Yeah, I agree with you. A single reflection is very, very good for the soul.
Yes.
No, I liked another part of your book, Shine Your Light. And the spiritual messages here are talking about my spirit is a reflection of the light within me. The path will always be lit for you. The light is the source of power. What's the significance of the messages here, and who are they aimed at? People of faith, people of spirituality? Are they aimed at young people, old people, or everybody?
They're aimed for everybody. We all, you know, as a school teacher, one of the things that was important for me is for children to, they say is to reach their full potential, to do their best. And looking at, it in a spiritual way, you know, reaching your full potential or doing your best is coming out, is bringing yourself out into the light. It's bringing yourself to shine. Even when children do things so spectacular, or anybody does, it's like there's a light on them. It's like they're shining, they're beaming. And so when you're able to bring yourself out into the light, you bring yourself into your full being of who you are. Um, and it's a very spiritual thing as well, because light is like represents clarity. Represents, creativity, all the things that you have within you that comes out when you're being who you are. And
It's a
so,
symbol of hope, isn't it? A candle is like a symbol of hope.
yeah, yes, yes, you can actually use that as as one of the meanings, the symbol of hope. And it's 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 as if to say, when you're shining your light, you're beaming. And if you notice, a lot of spiritual books always have a light around the images, and it sort of signifies the brightness of oneself, the spirituality of oneself. And you can actually see it in people sometimes when they're actually beaming with light, So that's what, for me, coming from the other opposites of darkness and light, coming out of the darkness into light. I mean, you're moving from one kind of um, one kind of state to another.
Mm.
And it's not to say that there's darkness is bad. Sometimes we need to be in the dark to get to the light. So
Now you've written again. There's a section in your book, Darkness and Light. And this is an intriguing part of your book. You talk about, as you've already mentioned, when in the darkness of life, the light is always there. Your greatness is your power. And like throughout the whole of your book, the messages are headed up: my daughter, dearest daughter, glorious daughter. So, we've got the darkness and the light, this section here. And so the thinking here, and when you were addressed as daughter, or when you address people as daughter, these are powerful messages again, aren't they, in this section of your book? And I think that's why you put them in. Am I right?
yes, 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 because in my time of going through my darkness, um, I didn't feel that there was any light. Um, I felt that, everything was just dark, and there was not going to be um, any difference, or things weren't going to change, things were going to be the same, and I was going to be stuck in this darkness forever. And while I was writing and got the messages, it made me realize even though there's a glimmer of light I can see that will help me pull me through that darkness. And so
Mm.
this is why I had to write it like that, because so many of us do go into darkness and do go into ourselves and do go into this world in our minds that is just, gloom, dull and gloom. But if we only realize that there's always going to be what's it say? There's always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
And if we believe that and understand that, no matter how dark things may seem for us now, there's always going to be a little glimmer of light that you can actually walk towards and move towards.
Yeah, and that's why you sometimes find on some faith buildings, you'll see a light in the lantern in the top. It's there for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Spiritual faith and trustee is very important to a lot of people. And I found this section of the book very, very poignant. You talk about have faith in yourself, even when you feel hopeless. Faith and trust can break down the strongest walls. Good thoughts are divinely sent. Why did you choose to group these spiritual messages, these poems, in this section of the book?
Um, yeah. The whole thing about having, the trust and faith in your life is very important. Um, when you're, you know, when you're, in a situation where you going back to us where you feel that there's nothing there for you, or you're not going to recover or get over this. The one thing that you know is important is to have faith to know that things are going to be all right, and keeping that faith and trusting that in itself is very important, even when things seems really you know dull, or things seems really challenging. Having the faith to know that it will be all right. I'm going through this now, but it's not going to last forever. And if we can just hold on to that, and know that this is only for a time, that faith that you have within yourself will bring you through it. That's what.
Yes, and particularly people who are facing health issues, serious
Yeah,
health issues, and they
yeah,
think it's all over.
yeah, yes. And I've been through one of those health
Mhm.
issues, and it was my faith and trust in the fact to know that um, everything's going to be all right.
That got you
It
through it.
will.
There's a
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
There you go, everyone.
Yeah.
For most people in life, Dee, like faith and trust, forgiveness is equally as important. And here I find you talking about dwelling on the past stops you living in the present. Forgive yourself
Mhm.
because you are only feeling the pain. So forgive
Yeah.
yourself. Why these messages? What are you trying to say here? So we've talked about light, we've talked about darkness and light, we've talked about trust. So now we're talking about forgiveness. What's
Mm.
your viewpoint and why these messages?
I think the clearest answer I can give about forgiveness is about I think in my book I refer to your mind living in the past. And you imagine, the what's happened has happened in the past. And if you're constantly living that past in your future, then your present is being affected. And so for me, forgiveness is being able to recognize that this happened. I didn't like it, or, you know, it affected me. But right here, right now, I'm good. I'm good. So if we can depart from those things that have happened in the
Mm.
past and not bring it into our present and future, then we have a much more open, open, life, or open road on our journey. But if we're constantly bringing the past, we're putting obstacles all the way, as we're walking. Oh yes, remember that? Oh yeah, trip. Remember that? Oh yeah,
Yeah, we all
remember
do
that?
that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and so it kind of, hinders your progress. So, forgiveness is about forgiving that that's what happened. It happened. I can't change it, because that's one of the things we must realize also. We can't change it. There's
And
nothing we can do to change
forgiving
that.
in a relationship can be very hard.
Oh, it is. And it's not something you do instantly. It's not something, oh,
No.
yeah, I forgive. No, no, no. It's a time where, like I say, you have to go within. You have to learn more about yourself. You've got to understand what part you took into all of that. Where did you fit into all that? And then, you then say, well, I forgive myself. I forgive myself for, you know, how I behaved, or I forgive myself for how I perceived what was going on, or for how I was part of, that. And so I can move on freely, knowing that, I've dealt with that internally and how I felt about it. I've looked at it, I've inspected it, and now I've moved on. And that's the time when you're kind of going through, oh, they did me wrong. You kind of go through all that.
Yeah.
Or, how dare they? But
I
once
mean,
you,
is it how important, Dee, is reflecting? So we've got the light, we've done darkness, we've done forgiveness, we've done trust, faith, spiritual faith, reflection. And this book for me is, I think this is you reflecting back on your own life at times and knitting all the things together. I'm right, aren't I?
yes, you are. And so often, sometimes we don't reflect back, not on the things that, necessarily happened to us, but the things that we've come out of, or how we've grown. I think in my book, I said, how have I grown? Meaning, I now recognize when certain things I'm triggered by, or I now recognize when I'm compromising myself. You know, if I'm going through certain things, I recognize that it's only for a time. I recognize that these things happen. This is life. Nobody is immune from life. And if we understand that we all go through things, but it's how we deal with it that makes things better for us. So my reflection was, oh my gosh, haven't I come a long way from where I was? Haven't I picked myself up and realized this is what I need to, these are the things that can help me to develop myself. I'm not saying I'm not going to ever experience those things, but now I know how to better handle them.
Would you say, Dee, that your spiritual faith and the messages that are within your book equally apply to, let's say, when you make mistakes?
Mm, yes, yes, and it's as I say, it's life. Who
Tis life.
doesn't make, who
Mm.
doesn't make mistakes? And if we can all admit that, it's us being human, it's us living our lives, um, and it's part of, for me, it's part of our own development. It's part of recognizing, okay, that didn't go too well. I'll try a different way next time. Or if you haven't realized that that's what you've done to make the mistake, then it will still be something that you have to learn and develop, of how to deal with that mistake, or how to deal with what's
Yeah.
happened. But for me, it's really about us understanding that it's okay. It's okay to make a mistake, and it's okay to learn from them, and not necessarily blame others for it, but understand where you were, your part in it. And I think one of the messages that I think really I want to share with others is that throughout the whole book, it's about us being human. It's about us um, having these human feelings, having these human experiences, but it's no different from anybody else. We all have it. And if we can understand that there are times where we will go through real sadness, there's times where we will go through real challenges.
When we fall down,
When we fall down,
we pick
that
ourselves
doesn't
up.
mean that, yes, yes. And if I can get that message across to others that, yeah, you are going to go through this for a time, but know
I,
that if you,
I think your messages do that. But I want to ask you now, Dee, is what's next for you in terms of, what other books are coming down the pipeline? What other spiritual messages, in other books are you going to be doing?
right, well, there is a volume 2,
Ooh,
maybe 3, because I've just
now
sort
she's
of,
getting carried away with herself, everybody.
because I have a lot more to say. There's a lot more journals to go through. As I said, this is over 20 years of writing. So I've got, journals that I haven't even tapped into yet. So, volume 2 would be the remainder of the journal I started that I haven't finished yet, and other journals. Hopefully, maybe come to the present day. But there's a lot there. There's a lot of material. There's a lot of, you know, messages that I haven't, even remembered that I've actually, that's been given to me. So yeah, so
That's the
that's the
plan.
plan. Yeah.
Mm. Who do you see, Dee, as your market for your book, your books? But more importantly, who would you like to see reading your books?
I'd say everyone, but as it's, very much dear to my heart, I really want women, young girls, you know, um, especially actually, because all what's out there in the media, which is actually taken away from them, their true selves, all that they see and the images, and they want to be like somebody else, or they want to, you know, it's to bring them back to their true selves. And I think if young women can start by recognizing themselves and developing themselves in the way they want to, rather than the way they've been told to, that will be a good start. That will be a good start, for them. And also, right the way through the ages, because as I said, we all face challenges, and sometimes we just don't know, um, where to turn or how to deal with it. And sometimes just one simple message can make everything seem a bit more, oh, okay, so it's not that bad then.
No, it
it's,
puts
it's
it in perspective.
yes, it puts
Yeah,
everything into perspective. And so I think, yeah, from young ages right the way through, mainly women to start with. Never know, the next book might be for men. So
I think you should do that.
yeah. Yes, because I've had men who have commented on the book and feel the same energy from the book. So
Yeah.
I'll probably leave it gender free next time, so everybody can have a go. Yeah.
Dee, where can people get your books from?
Well, they're sold in most bookstores, Amazon, I've lost the trail now. Um, uh, Most bookstores, all the I was going to say Weatherspoons, all the
Not in the
um,
pubs, everyone.
not pubs, everyone. Yeah,
Well, there we go, everyone. Dee
yeah.
Buchanan, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Thank
That
you
was
so
Dee
much.
Buchanan, everybody. I'm JT Crowley. Thanks for listening, watching, wherever you are in the world. Until next time. Stay safe.